And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're receiving this information. My name is Rafael Vasquez Guzman, and my organization is called Líderes del Futuro Avanzando. Our goal is to support the community in general in Sonoma County and its surroundings with much information and services. Specifically, the Latinx community is what our nonprofit status mandates, but we're here to support everybody in general. My website is lideresdelfuturo.org, and we put information every day, a positive message every day for our mental health at líderes underscore DEL underscore futuro, double O at the end. We also have a Facebook page, DACA Sonoma County. That is DACA Sonoma County. And so you're welcome to follow us and get that information. Today, we're wanting to talk with you about how to prepare for fire season. We are creating this information on July 31st, 2023. And today, there was a fire here in Sonoma County on the 101. And so that is a sample of why we need to get ourselves ready in case something is to happen. So we are going to talk a little bit about how to best prepare. The first thing that we need to do is sign up to be able to get those text messages that will tell us when there is a problem, whether it is in the morning, at night, in the middle of the night, whenever it is. And so the way you do it is by texting your zip code to the following number, and that is 888-777 888-777. And that way, anything that happens within that zip code, if there's some police activity that is serious, they will let you know. If there's a fire, they will let you know. All of those emergencies. Also, if you say, how do I find out how my mother or my grandma is doing when they live in another county, maybe in Napa County, maybe in Mendocino County? Then all you do is you send a message to 888-777-888-777. And the message is, again, that zip code where your grandma or your mom or whomever it is that you love is located at. And that way you will get those alerts as well. Now, it's important. There is no limit as to how many zip codes you can include, but what's going to happen is you're going to be getting multiple messages on a regular basis. So try to limit it to zip codes that really are important to you. Now, the other thing that we have to remember is during fire season, which starts typically May 15th and it goes until mid-November sometimes, please make sure your phone is charged. And in your vehicle, again, make sure you have a charger there as well. And if at all possible, one of those battery chargers, you should have it, one of those chargers that is portable. That way, if you have to abandon your vehicle in an emergency, you'll be able to recharge your phone a few more times. And then it's important that we make an emergency plan with family. We must plan at least 2 routes out of the home. What did we find out in 2017, those of us who had to leave our homes at 3 in the morning? We found out that everybody could only think of the 101, and suddenly the 101 was a parking lot. And then everybody got freaked out and everybody went into the streets to find a way out, whether it was to the Petaluma area, whether it was to the Sonoma Valley area, whether it was over there to the ocean area. And then by the time people like myself who had difficulty getting things ready and getting out, by the time I got to the 101, it was empty. And it was really simple to get to Petaluma. And so again, have multiple plans and make sure everybody in your family knows those routes. The other thing is if family cannot come to the house and then take off from there together, agree on a meeting location in case that is necessary. something that everyone at home knows, whether it is a place of worship, maybe it is the fairgrounds parking lot, maybe it is in front of a motel or hotel, maybe it is at a shopping center that has a big enough parking lot for everybody to meet there. Now, it's important again. We need to practice this. We need to have this conversation. It's not about, creating more anxiety for our families. It's about educating people. And then have the phone number memorized, not just for everybody in the home, but for a family member that is not from the area. And this is because sometimes emergency services will limit the amount of phone service that the rest of us have access to so that they can use the additional lines to be able to communicate. And as a result of that, again, if you call this family member, maybe in Sacramento, in Chico, in San Francisco, in LA, even, and you say, hey, uncle, I made it to the location where we are supposed to meet. I'm trying to get a hold of mom and dad. Oh, they called me 5 minutes ago. They're on their way. That's why we do this. Okay, super important. But numbers have to be memorized. Otherwise, if the phone runs out of battery and you're using somebody else's phone to make that phone call, then you're going to be in trouble. And then you have to prepare your emergency kit. Water. It is recommended 1 gallon per person per day for several days. 3 days typically is what they're suggesting. This is for 1 gallon for drinking and sanitation, maybe for cooking, whatever it is that you needed. Formula, baby formula, perhaps. And then you have to have food for at least 3 days. And this should be non-perishable food. So canned food, for example, or packaged food that is sealed still. And again, every month or two, put it in your calendar, put it in your smartphone, that every 2 months you need to go to your emergency kit. And if necessary, replace food, replace water that is no longer good. You should also have a battery power or hand crank radio. I personally suggest a hand crank radio. That way you don't have to worry about batteries. You should have an NOAA, the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration weather radio with tone alerts. Again, that way you get the emergency system information that you need. A flashlight, but it's better if you have a hand crank flashlight. That way you don't have to worry about batteries. A first aid kit. This may come useful not just for yourself, but maybe when you run into other people at a shelter and they maybe fell and they need support, right? We need to be supportive of each other. Extra batteries. Sometimes it's important to signal for help, and maybe it's smoky out there. Maybe you went off the road and it's difficult for people to see you, but a whistle might be able to get the attention that you need. You also need N95 type masks. There's a lot of individuals that we were using the N95 mask during the fires in Sonoma County of 2017, 19, 20, and a little bit of 21, but then came this thing called COVID, and we started using the N95 masks for that. So make sure you have that in your kit and don't touch those because they should be only for this type of emergency. Plastic sheeting and duct tape, whether it is so you can create a shelter or for many other reasons. Garbage bags and zip ties or plastic ties. And this is important for multiple reasons. Again, you can use the garbage bags to keep items that you don't want to get wet, whether it is clothing, other things like that. But also, if you have different size plastic bags, if you have the large ones and it starts raining and you haven't been able to find shelter, you can poke 3 holes on that thing and you can use it to keep some water off of you. A wrench or pliers are essential in that kit. So as you're leaving, if you, for example, are renting an apartment or a house, or you're buying your own house, you can turn off the water and the gas, right? We want to turn off those utilities, electricity as well, if possible. A manual can opener is essential, and local maps, or maybe you printed your own with the right routes to get out of town. As a little bit of soap, hand sanitizer, wipes, and a list of all the medications in a Ziploc bag. So let's say you were driving, and unfortunately, a vehicle didn't was they were coming, they didn't see you, they hit you, you went off the road, you're unconscious. First aid services, an ambulance, let's say, firefighters get to you, you're unconscious, so they don't know what you're allergic to or not, but they can quickly look within your emergency bag and they can see, oh, these are the medications that they're using. Or we can no longer give this additional medication because it would counter another medication. Non prescription medications like pain relievers, if you end up hitting your head on something, or simply, right, somebody else is in pain that you need to take care of them. Prescription eyeglasses, you should always have an extra pair in this emergency kit in case you forget yours because of the shock. Pet food and extra water if you have pets. And in all honesty, even if you don't have pets, it's nice to be able to provide for somebody else in an emergency. Cash in low denomination, which means fives, tens, 20s. Because in this type of emergencies, sometimes you go to a gas station or a small shop and you're gonna buy 5, 8, $10 worth of food or whatever it is, drinks, and you want to pay with $100 bill, the cashier may get suspicious. They may think you're trying to rob them and they may decline services. This is important. Again, we have to think ahead of time. So in that plastic bag that you have all of your prescriptions, that's where you can put your cash. Okay. And then important documents also in a Ziploc bag, such as home insurance, life insurance, death insurance, passports, birth certificates, bank records, digitized records also in a USB encrypted drive. And all of this should be in a Ziploc bag. For the victims of the 2017 fire, it was extremely difficult for some of them to be able to obtain all of their records. So why put yourself in that situation? And then at least 2 changes of clothing should be in your emergency kit. A fire extinguisher, if possible, matches, feminine products. Again, some of these items may not be for ourselves, but this is where, as a community, we come together. Paper and pencil, books and games that are not electronic games because you want to save batteries. So, again, drawing materials, for example, coloring books, that type of stuff. Paper cups, plates, eating utensils. And it's also, again, important for us to remember to keep this kit ready near the door, in a closet near the door, so that it is grab and go. This is why we call it a go bag. And so it's really important. It's best if you use containers with wheels for as many of these items. That way, if at some point you need to leave your vehicle behind, maybe you ran out of gas and there's no way somebody's going to stop and help you, you just pull those things because they have wheels. Keep some of the items in your office if you're privileged like myself to have an office, or in your car in case you cannot go back home. You could already have those items ready and just meet the family at your specific location that you agree to ahead of time. And once you are in a safe space, remember, locate a shelter, because we know that in the 2017 fires and in other fires subsequently, people were able to get shelter access because they couldn't go home immediately. Cities and counties often provide this type of shelters. Mecha de SRJC, Líderes del Futuro, and other organizations went to the Windsor High School location in 2017, where these organizations gather clothing, many different things, hygiene products, and everything else. And these organizations were able to support the community. And the shelter was in the same location. And then continue to get updates until it is safe to go home. Please don't do what some individuals did during one of our last fires. And that was those individuals wanted to go home and either go back to their houses. They didn't care about the safety of anybody else. They were selfish and they wanted to go back home. And then later on, they ended up calling 911, and firefighters and police services had to stop attending to a major fire to go and save these individuals, all because they were selfish individuals who couldn't just stay in the shelter. And extremely important, update your family from outside the area as to your location and how you are doing. We do not want more people coming into the area because you haven't communicated with them. This is why, again, it's important to memorize some of these phone numbers, but also in that kit where you have your medications and your money, you should have those phone numbers on a piece of paper as a backup. And so it is important for us to keep this in mind. And with that, we want to thank you for being with us for a few minutes. My name is Rafael Vasquez Guzman, and my show is Líderes del Futuro on KBBF Bilingual Radio, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. at kbbf.org. And remember, you can go to our website, líderesdelfuturo.org. And with that, we thank you for your time.